Hello again. I found this video um after I was just recording one about like Babylon B and comedy, and yeah, I wanted to see what this one was about, taking on Woke Incorporated. I just want their comments to load. I want to read the comments. I want to see how people react to it. And yeah, I don't know what's gonna be going on in this one, but let's find out. Let's see what's up here.
Congratulations,
Oh,
graduates.
God damn it. Does it really have to be you, Ben? Oh, come on, please.
Your days of indoctrination and wokeism are
Oh, didn't
behind
mean to
you.
pause, I'm
Your
sorry.
worries about being graded down because you wouldn't say America is systemically racist? Over.
Yeah, so, fun fact, that doesn't happen. Um, because I'm in, I'm at college in one of the most liberal colleges in the country, and, there's this really crazy thing, actually, where teachers will just grade your paper, um, based on what you say and if you like write it well and stuff, and not necessarily the arguments that you're making. Sometimes the arguments that you're making depends on the exact context of the paper, and what exactly the requirements are for the paper and stuff. But most of the time it's just about how well you can argue your point, like how well you can write it, and not necessarily if it's accurate or not. And this doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen. Like I know it's gonna blow your mind, but it's the kind of thing that just doesn't happen at college. It's just like a made up boogeyman thing. It's so crazy. People just don't care. They're just gonna let you write the paper because like whatever. The teachers just want you to write a good paper. They don't really care all that much. That kind of discussion on all the right and wrong and stuff can happen in class when you try and sort out what's correct and what's not.
Your
In my
fears that you'd be
experience.
socially shunned because of your failure to decry the evils of capitalism? Done. Yeah.
What? Yeah, I don't think that that happens either. But I guess we can make pretend right now. That's fine.
Yes, you've been liberated. Next up, the real world, where merit is rewarded, diversity of opinion is welcomed, and the free and open exchange of ideas is celebrated. Just kidding. The truth is, many of you are about to move from the ivory tower of the authoritarian left to, well, probably the glass and steel tower of the authoritarian left.
So here's another thing too about the authoritarian left is that your ideas just suck. They're just dog shit. Like your ideas are just garbage most of the time. People aren't interested in them because they're just like not things that anyone's interested in actually like they're just bad. Like it's like I don't think trans people exist, and then it'll be like, oh well, the scientific consensus is that trans people are real, but you're still having a conversation that anybody with the evidence is not. Like that's what's going on here is you're just your ideas are just bad, and everybody's just gonna call them bad, and that doesn't mean that your free speech is being stifled. It just means people are calling you out for your garbage takes.
Today's business behemoths have also become bastions of woke thought.
They're literally not. They're literally not. You know what's crazy is companies will just pretend to hold positions based on who there are more of in the country. And I don't know how like you being a supposed person who like loves and understands capitalism and all this stuff doesn't get this, but like when a company says, "God, I love Black Lives Matter," and "Oh my God, I love Pride," and like when Coca-Cola like posts about it, I'm calling out Coca-Cola specifically because of what they've done in the past. It's like they're just saying that because more people support it in the country than oppose it. They're not they don't have any real values like that. If anything, they oppose those values because they constantly donate to Republican politicians in the background while they say all these empty things. So if anything, you shouldn't have a problem with it because they're faking all this stuff and then really harming it in the background because they're terrible. But back to Coca-Cola. Like, you'll find Coca-Cola probably post like, oh, happy Pride and like happy Black Lives Matter movement stuff. I don't know. Happy Black History Month. I don't know what they say. But Black Lives Matter, duh. Why didn't I think of that? But like in the past, Coca-Cola used to only advertise with white people because that was what was seen as like just acceptable family values and stuff. Like, and they'll make that switch not because there's some left wing thing. They don't like left wing ideas still. They're donating to Republicans even when they promised they wouldn't because they're liars. But they know that people care about these things for the most part in the country because conservative ideas aren't that popular because they suck. And so they're just gonna be like, yeah, this is what we believe too, even though we're totally not doing it. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. They don't actually believe those things. Wild, I know, Ben.
Terrified of discrimination lawsuits and all the time, money, and bad PR, they bend to every woke diktat that blows through their HR departments. Corporations spend millions on useless diversity compliance officers whose sole purpose is to insulate them from an ever expanding list of discrimination claims, but most especially racism. That's why within the first few days on the job, you will likely be subjected to an orientation taught by a devotee of Ibram X. Kendi or Robin DiAngelo.
Okay. Yeah, they're probably gonna try and make sure that you treat black people with respect. Yeah, again, the company's trying to protect itself, but you're attacking the company for what? Trying to make a better environment for black people? Oh no, the horror. How could they? Oh my god.
During a day long struggle session, this anti racist consultant will inform you that if you're white, you must become less white. And if you're a person of color, a POC, you are a victim.
It's not. It's so simplistic. It's not become less white. It's, if I remember correctly, from I know what he's talking about with that Coca Cola thing. Again, way for Coca Cola to flip. Didn't they make like the, hey, maybe try and look. Do I think it's necessarily the best way to put out the ideas is like the trainings that they do? No, but the ideas are a lot more nuanced than Ben is going to make them out to be, or Ben's really going to evaluate them on, because obviously if he evaluated them, he would find out that there's actually something to them, even if they're not being like described and like conveyed rather well. And that is that yeah, white people have benefited a lot in the country from being white, and that's just kind of a thing. Like black names on like interview things get rejected more often. Um, Let me check. See, yeah, minorities who whiten job resumes get more interviews. It's so weird. The more that you, and this is where the other part comes in, is when it says to be less white, it's not literally make yourself look less white. It's it's to like, like not uphold those kinds of institutions that create situations where African Americans have to pretend not to be African American to actually get jobs. That's the problem that's being discussed here, Ben. Not some, you're bad for being white.
Corporations cater to their squeakiest customers, and the authoritarian left is nothing if not squeaky.
If there were, let's say, if 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 30% of the country, 35% of the country was this authoritarian left and the rest of the country was not, do you know what the corporations would do? They would go with the people who would give them more. They'd go with the wider um, consumer, potential consumer base. They'd go with the 65%. And if conservatives were actually the majority of the country, they would say, oh, okay, um, yeah, I don't think that black people are suffering any problems in this country. I think they're doing perfectly fine, and I think that they need to suck it up. And the 35% would be mad, like you are right now, being mad. But I picked 35% because it's like roughly the amount of the country that supports conservative ideas consistently. Spoiler alert. And they would side with the bigger consumer base. Like you're not gonna throw away more customers when you're a company. Like this is just capitalism 101, Ben. And I feel like this is something that you would maybe like. This can't be something that's surprising you. Is that when your ideas aren't popular, that the companies aren't standing by them in public? At least they aren't standing by them.
It threatens boycotts and company destroying publicity if businesses refuse to comply with its demands.
Which is what everyone does, though. Conservatives have been mad at Coca Cola and threatening to boycott Coca Cola and stuff. You're literally doing the same thing. It's just how consumers react. But again, companies are going to go based on who there's more of and make their public positions convey like a sense of like approval for more people than less. And you're the less.
According to a study by James Bailey and Hilary Phillips, as reported in the Harvard Business Review, a generic corporation identified as apolitical or liberal saw no blowback from a panel of prospective consumers. But a generic corporation identified as conservative saw a 33% drop in opinion, entirely driven by participants who identified as Democrats.
Yeah, sure. It just seems to convey to me what I've been saying the entire time, that people like these ideas less. This video is going to be long because Ben talks a lot, I think. Oh man, I didn't realize this was going to be a long video when I went into it because I didn't think it'd be Ben Shapiro, and he says so much empty garbage in so little time. But yeah, no, that pretty much seems to convey what I've been saying. Conservative ideas just aren't as popular.
That's why your boss will likely send out regular company-wide emails assuring you that he or she or she is on the right side of history and pledging millions of dollars in support of whatever the leftist cause du jour happens to be. And you'll be forced to echo these messages or seek employment elsewhere. Corporations, above all, are risk-averse and controversy-averse. This means that they are petrified of their own woke workers and cater to them in order to avoid media-manufactured blowback.
So so this is fascinating to me, right? Because what Ben is describing is literally a situation that where there are woke people everywhere, and the companies need to avoid this controversy, and they need to avoid these problems from all their workers, from all the customers, and from all these people. But there's also not that many of them, and there's not that many, but I guess they're so loud that it's like there's like majority of the country believes in it or something. Like what? If they were really a small segment, companies wouldn't be that concerned about it. Like like companies aren't marketing to like God, what's something small? God, what's something literally small? The Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA. They're not marketing to them. That group is super tiny. No company's gonna market like when they get mad about like something. Maybe I don't know if they react to companies much, but if they were to get frustrated with something, the companies would just ignore it because they're small. When a small group gets mad about something, the company's gonna ignore it. The reason they're not ignoring it is because there's actually a lot of them, Ben. You can't have it both ways here.
While apolitical staffers and conservatives may constitute the majority of employees at any company, the
What?
corporate heads are driven by fear of a vocal ideological minority.
I They wouldn't be. Like, what? So first off, PragerU again with one of those wonderful graphics where what the fuck is this supposed to mean? Like, what the fuck are the numbers here? Like, this is just vague chart to convey idea that doesn't actually have any data whatsoever. But also, if this were the case, and like if there's 100 people here, and like 90 of them were saying I don't care, and 10 of them were saying I want this to change. The company's not going to change it. Companies just do whatever they want. They're pretty good at that. I mean, I can think of an instance in, oh God, where was it? If I remember correctly, it was Activision or something where oh, it might not have been Activision, but it was a game company, I'm pretty sure, where they asked the um the workers. They said, "Hey, um like cuz the workers were getting overworked a lot because they had to work a lot of hours." And they were like saying, "Hey, maybe instead of a salaried thing where we're working like 80 hours and you're paying us for 40, maybe we could get hourly." And like they said, "Yeah, okay, who wants hourly and who wants salaried?" And like I think it was like 50-50 or something, or like 30-70, or like I don't know, like a decent chunk of people selected hourly, right? But I don't think it was a majority. I think it was maybe like half at most. And well, it's crazy. Even this minority was pretty vocal about wanting more like rights and stuff. They just fired them. They just fired the people that didn't get along with what they wanted with the majority of people. It's literally not. It just doesn't happen. They're not going to cave to 10% unless they think that the other 90% are um, like completely unconcerned, which I'm assuming they're not, because you have conservatives in this 90%, even though realistically conservatives are like a much smaller proportion of the population than all the other groups.
Which is why, if you offend one of your fellow employees on a message board by suggesting that there are non sexist reasons why men outnumber women in STEM jobs, you'll be summarily fired. Just ask James Damore of Google. Conservatives used
I'm pretty sure James Damore said something about the KKK and it not sucking. We can check this. The biological differences, or am I thinking of a different guy? Hmm. Hmm. Wow. He was fired because he said biological differences between men and women account for the gender disparity in software engineering. Look, as someone who's programmed some things, um, I guarantee that that is not going to work. Accusing it of discriminating against white male conservative employees. Wow, it's crazy. The memo was released super fast, and it turns out that there was no reason to think so whatsoever, that he was not discriminated against. His comments were discriminatory and constituted sexual harassment. Wow. And that was the argument that the person was making, or the lawyer that was against him. Hold on. I think I might have misread it. I think that might have been the lawyer that was against him. Um, Perpetuating stereotypes about women. Yeah, what he said, what he got fired for was not protected under federal law. He got fired for saying, like, maybe I'm thinking of someone else with the KKK thing. I can't remember all these fucking conservatives that cycle through and get mad about stuff. But yeah, he'd be wrong. Women can be very great programmers. Um, there's no biological difference there. They just aren't encouraged to take those roles as much, like societally.
to believe that what happened in college stayed in college. This was a colossal mistake. Slowly but surely, college radicals have renormalized America's institutions. Let's talk about how.
What?
Author Nassim Nicholas Taleb discusses the process of renormalization in his book, Skin in the
Oh
Game.
boy, come on.
Let's say you have a family of 4, including one daughter who only eats vegan. Mom now has a choice. She can cook 2 meals, one for the non vegan family members and one for her daughter, or she can cook one meal with only vegan ingredients. She decides to cook only one meal. This is renormalization of the family unit, which has converted from majority non vegan to vegan. Now, says Taleb, have the family attend a barbecue with 3 other families. The host has to make the same choice mom did, make one meal or make 2. This process of renormalization, the new normal, continues.
You're not just gonna make one. What barbecue have you been to when there's only one food option, Ben? Ben, you must not get invited to barbecues very much, Ben. Clearly, if you think that there's normally only one food option at a barbecue. Also, they're not just vegan now, the other three, but whatever. Whatever, sure.
until broader and broader numbers have been moved by one inflexible
Uh,
person. The same
I
holds
mean, like,
true in
kind of true,
corporations.
but also
All it
no.
takes, according to physicist Serge Gallum, is a tipping point. A certain percentage of the population joining an inflexible movement and demanding change from a less than motivated majority.
Earlier, you seemed to be implying that they were not moving. Earlier, you seemed to be implying that other people didn't care about the movement and so weren't going to join it, or they were actively opposed to it, and only a few people were pushing for it. But now, all of a sudden, there's another group of people that's joining with this movement that was not there
Gallum puts
before.
that number at approximately 20%. So, here's the good news. Renormalization can work in reverse, too. Here's how. Find a group of like-minded employees. Make demands that a majority of employees agree with. Be inflexible and be loud. Band together to resist the intrusions of the radical left.
Yeah, good luck with
Donald
that.
McNeil of the New York Times lost his job because he used the N-word in describing why not to use the N-word. 150 woke staffers at the Times complained to the editors and got him canned.
You you do like just because we're just because you're talking about why not to use the N-word doesn't mean you get to use the N-word to describe why not to use the N-word. That's not it doesn't work. If they were like, yeah, you can't use the N-word, even though you were saying not to use the, like, what's it matter if you're saying not, don't say the N-word, and then you just drop it a bunch of times? Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. That doesn't work.
But there are 1,200 employees at the Times. What if even 200 of those employees had pushed back? You can lead the pushback. In fact, you should. Now, that may seem like a lot to ask.
So it's at this point where my argument transitions from, Ben, this is, uh, well, it's at this point where I guess I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, where I my thought process transitions from like the inaccuracy exactly of what, like, the literalness of what he's saying, but to what I'm thinking about in terms of is it worthwhile. And I mean, creating this kind of pushback would be, in my opinion, and I think factually pretty easily evident, dumb. To be blunt, I mean, your pushback, like, for James Damore to say what, I um I want to be able to discriminate against women more. Like, this is kind of silly, really. Like, your insistences are ones that just are a lot more problematic than I don't want this guy to say the N word. Like you're not. You're just fighting for a lot less appealing positions. You're gonna, like, just don't. Just please,
Why should a
please
CEO
don't.
listen to his youngest employees? Fair question. But here's the answer they already do. It's 23-year-old woke staffers who are forcing these corporations to the left.
Stereotypical, but
It's
yeah,
going to take
sure.
23-year-old non left staffers to move them back. That means being smart.
I'm pretty sure most of the decisions companies will make about, like, these kinds of things are, like, consumer focused and not, you know, employee focused so much. I'm sure there is some employee interests as well, but I think it's mostly consumer focused.
It means not making dumb mistakes on social media. It means building alliances with those who aren't motivated primarily by politics.
What does that mean, Van? Not making dumb mistakes on social media? Do you mean not saying offensive shit that you want to say, that conservatives want to say? Is that what we're talking about?
But just as you were in college, you are now in opposing territory. And that requires fighting back in strategic ways. Be an advocate for truth and a warrior for liberty. Welcome
You're you're not really advocating for much truth, Ben.
to the real world and the real fight.
God, so cringe. Go LARP somewhere else,
I'm Ben
loser.
Shapiro for Prager University.
Go LARP somewhere else, loser. Oh my god. I can't even read the comments. Let me read the comments. Bummer, bummer, bummer. Yeah, anyways, this is ridiculous. Ben Shapiro's not a fight for truth. I want to react to his debunked series and talk about how he's not actually debunking anything. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But yeah, I guess that'll kind of cover it for this one. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you again very soon.